Okay, cool. I want to briefly go over how to use Node.js um, and do a little bit of programming in JavaScript. So what I want to do is make a new directory, which will do mkdir, and we'll say example, cd, and we'll go into it. If we list out what's going on here, we have nothing, and if we, so ls list the current directory, print the working directory, we'll see where we're at. If I say which node, that'll tell me where the node executable is. And if I simply say node, oops, I get into a prompt here. So this is actually a JavaScript interpreter, so I can say 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Likewise, I can say 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. And then I can say true, that returns true, say false, that returns false, etc. Great. I can exit that by hitting Control C. I believe it's also Control C on a Windows computer. Cool. So I now want to run a program. So the best way to do that is to create a file. So I'm going to touch, I'm going to say program.js, right? And then I'm going to edit program.js. I'm using Vim. You can use whatever text editor you want. Console.log, hello world. Great. What is this? Well, console refers to standard output, and this log method is basically going to print out what I give it. It's going to try to coerce it to a string and print it out onto the whatever the standard output is there. What is also helpful about console log is going to add a new line character to the end. So if we quit that, we write it and quit it, and Vim freaks out, we'll then say node program.js, which will say hello world. Great. Taking it a step further, if I go back into this, I can then create a function. So say function sum, a, b, oops, type, wow, return a plus b, and then I can say console.log sum 2 and 2. I'll save that. Great. No, Vim will freak out apparently. Okay, great. I don't know what it's doing. Quick fix. Okay. Node program, and we can get 4. Wonderful. Taking this a step further, one thing we could do is take input from the user, so we could actually grab that. So let's show how we could do that. And meaning, we could say node program.js and then say like 1, 2, right? And then we can read these values here, 1, 2, into the program. Cool. So let's do that. So let's say const. We'll just say arg1 equals process.m.argv. And basically what this is doing is we have a global variable, much like in the browser where you have document. In Node we have process, right? And then the environment is process env. So if I open up Node here and say process env, we get a ton of stuff here. Wonderful. I don't know if that's like stuff I should blur out. No, it's fine. Right? Cool. So I could then say, so 0 would be the first one, which would be node. 1 would be the second one, which would be program. And 2 would be the third one, right? That's arg1, and then say const arg2 equals process.env.arg v, let's say 3, right? And let's do this, console.log arg1, arg2. Cool. I'll write that. And again, Vim is freaking out. I think because I'm like Pavlovianly hitting Command S. Okay, so let's say node program. I'll say 1, 2, and we should see, oh my gosh, I'm freaked out. Cannot read property 2 of undefined. So I think where I went wrong is I just want to say process.argv. And this is helpful to show a little bit of the debugging process. Node program 1, 2. There we go. Cool. And my console is totally freaked out. Reset. Okay. Vim program. Okay, cool. So there's our variables. We'll rename this function, or we'll rewrite this function sum AB, right? And then cool. We'll mess up a bunch, and then we'll say return A plus B, and we'll say console.log arg1 arg2. Great, and we'll see what we get. I'm going to background my terminal or Vim and see my terminal freak out. Where's my cursor? I don't know. Reset. We're back. Node program 1, 2. Let's see. Okay, so what? It's like, oh my gosh. Okay, I have no idea what's going on with Vim right now. Okay, we'll go back into it. Okay, so interesting. What's going on here? Well, I simply did that. I needed to, of course, sum. We'll get my, okay. I have an autocomplete plugin that's being dumb. Okay, now I'll do it. Node program 1, 2. And now we get 12. Oh, weird. So JavaScript, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what's going on here? Well, JavaScript is a dynamic language. So as I ask for these array indexes from process argv, I'm getting back strings. So when I sum two strings together, JavaScript will simply slam them together and concatenate them. And my answer was somewhere up here, but my terminal is freaking out. Cool. So how about I coerce them to strings so I can say a equals parse int a with the base of 10 because I'm working in a base 10 number system because that's what the human brain uses. And then I can say parse int b 10. Cool. And now let's try it. Did I write it? Nope. Okay, flow server. Okay, so apparently it's the flow server that's being dumb. So I can say node program 1, 2, and I get 3. Great. Okay, cool. What do I want to go a step further? Let's say I want to run a server. Well, that's a lot of work, but what I could do is just really quickly say const http equals require http. And then I'll say http dot create. What I actually would probably be best here is to just go node, right, and then say require HTTP. Let's see what that gets, right? So that returns the HTTP module, and the HTTP module is the node core code that basically is going to be the HTTP stuff inside of Node that we can use, and it's going to return back an object. So this object has here a server, like this looks like a class, maybe. I think it is, right? But we also have create server, which returns. I guess I don't know because JavaScript's a dynamic language, but that's okay. So we can say. So we could say const server equals http.create server, and then what do we send in here? Well, we send I think a handler, so it's just going to be like request, right? We have no way of knowing. JavaScript is a dynamic language. Okay, but then if we say server dot listen, maybe 3000. We'll get rid of this. Let's write that, and then oh my gosh, let's get rid of this junk. Oh my gosh. Okay, I understand that it's not working. Node program. Let's see if it. Okay, so you can see here now the program. If I hit enter, it's like not ending. That's because it's bound to a port on my computer. And if I open a new window here and I do a little bit of make this bigger for you. PS aux, PS aux grab node. Cool. Here's node program.js. So that's that process that's running. And then if I do lsof-i, this will list my open files on a network interface, and I grep for 31233000. I should eventually see that I have a process bound on port 3000, If that ever returns, it's taking a long time. I don't like that it's taking so long, so I can say lsof-I, and there's going to be some stuff here that nothing's happening, so that's fine. Anyhow, the point would be that you could see that. Of course, nothing's going to happen because I'm not handling it. So I think the question now is, what are my arguments to this create server function, right? How would I find that out? I can't tell you other than to go to the Node.js.org website, look at the docs, look at this version probably, then we'll go to HTTP, make this a little bigger, and then where was the create server? Or what would I call it? Yeah, create server. Create server. So options. So it takes two optional. When you see an argument with the square brackets around it, it means it's an optional argument. Take two optional arguments here, which I don't know what you would do with a server with no arguments, but okay. So options, incoming message, class can be used. Okay, I don't care, but what I do want to do is returns a server. The request listener is a function which automatically adds to the request event. So if I don't, so we can do this two ways. So, oh my gosh, okay. So I can do this two ways. I can say, so this is the function, and I think it's going to look, since these are both optional, it's going to look at the type of the, it's going to look whether it's an object or a function that was passed into HTTP create server, and it's going to like identify like that was like either the options object or the handler. So that's cool. So then that's fine. Now what is this? Okay, so request listener is a function, it returns to HTTP server. So it gets, request listener is a function automatically to the request event. So if I click on the request event, event request. So each time there's a request, note that there may be multiple requests per connection. Okay, cool. So I don't need to worry about that right now. But what I think this is saying is like request and response. The way I can test this is just straight up do a little console log here, type of rec, type of res, right? And then I'll say, oops, get rid of that. Save this program. Flow is gonna freak out. I can fix that by like editing my vimrc, I think. Vim, where's flow? I think, let's do that. Okay, I'm gonna quit this. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's write the file now. Yay, it doesn't freak out. Okay, so if I run this node program, okay, it's blocking, right? It's not quitting. If I open a new tab and I make this a little bigger for you, I can say curl localhost. I should probably do HTTP :/local, oops, localhost 3123, and then this is blocking, and look at, you get a little spinny wheel up there on that first one, and I get object, cool. So I have a feeling that I have the pattern correctly here, defined correctly, so I could say probably rest.write, let's say this is my server. All right, let's do this. Const body equals this is my server, and then I want to do an emoji. I don't know how to do it. Let's say smiley face. Yay, this is my server. Okay, cool. So I can say rest.write body, and then rest.end. Okay, and if I go back to the docs here, oops. Let's see here. So that's the response. So if I look at this, let's see. Let's go back up to the top of these docs. So if I look at this, HTTP server, HTTP server response, HTTP incoming message. But I was thinking, I'm sorry, create server. So request listener, so it's also the request event. Great. So the request event gives me request and response. And notice the request is an incoming message and the response is a server response. So it's an instance of those two like classes. So if I go to server response, The server response is this object, this res, which is the second argument in the callback function here. And I'm using the fat arrow like syntax or whatever. I could easily just define this as like function handler and then say rec res, right? And then put my stuff in here, and then I could say like, I could pass that in as an argument to, create service like handler, right? These are equivalent, but I'm going to leave it like this because anonymous functions are just like a thing in JavaScript. So there's event, so server response, that's not what I want, right? What was it? That's a response from a server. Don't I want, let's click on this again. This is the confusing thing about these docs. Okay, so, and then I say, so returns HTTP server. So the request listener is a function which is automatically added to the request event. Okay, so on a request, you get the function is called with the request and response. The server response is an note that okay, that was the thing about multiple requests per connection. The server response is an object created internally by an HTTP server, not by the user. It is passed the second parameter of the request event. Inherits from stream, okay, and additionally implements the following. Events indicates the underlying connection was terminated. Event add trailers. This method adds HTTP trailing headers. A header, but at the end of a message? I've never heard of that. Trailers will only be emitted if a chunked encoding. Okay. Response set connection, that's the underlying socket. I don't care. Response set end takes a bunch of optional things. Data, encoding, and then a callback function. Data is a string or a buffer. Encoding is a string. Response.finish, response.get header. So I think these are headers I've already set, yes. Get header names, get headers, has header, header says a bunch of easy things to help you see what's going on. Send date. When true, the date header will automatically be generated and send a response. Okay, what's the default? This should only be disabled for testing. Each requires date headers responses. Default's to true. Great. I want that. I do need to probably set a content length, right? So, no, I don't. Do I? I don't know. Okay, response set timeout, socket, status code, status message, a bunch of nice stuff here, right? So right, this is the one I called chunking encoding. Encoding is defaulted to UTF-8. That is what I want. And then I think I'm just going to leave it at this, right? So I'm going to write the body, which does have emoji in it. So we'll see what happens there. And then we're going to end it. Okay, so I'm going to start this function. I've written a little I don't know, a commandy thing in my vimrc that will run the current file in Node. There it's running. Here I'm going to do that curl again. And oh, there's my server. Great. So it responded to it. I have no idea that anything happened. So let's fix that up. So let's see here. So console.log handled request. Great. And then also I believe in the listen function, listen. Server.listen, does it take doesn't take anything. So what I want to do, listen, is create server, let's see, create server. I want to get a little note that basically tells me when, so I can say, so it tells me when my server is going. I think that's probably impossible, but I could assume that server.listen is blocking, so I could say console.log server is running, which implies that this line is blocking. So let's see, listen. Server.listen starts the HTTP server. This method is identical to server.listen from net.server. Server.listening is a Boolean. If I go to net.server, I can see net.server. Where did I go? Listen. Server listen. Oh, it does take a callback. Okay, so I should be able to say Cool. So that is going to tell me when it's running, and then I can say console.log inbound request. Right? And then I can say handled request. So let's run this. Cool, server is running. I'll go back to my other window here. I'll curl it. There's my server, and then I can say inbound request, handled request. Great. That's that, and that is an intro. I guess one other thing we could do real quick is just switch. We could echo out we could switch on the path on the request. So we could say like foo/bar, right? Right now it's not listening to foo/bar, right? It's not listening to anything. It's not, my server's not reacting to any parameters within the URI. If I wanted to do that, let's do something there. So if I go back to the docs here and I go to HTTP and I go to, if I go to create server again, so I'll search for create server. So that sends back an HTTP server, the server, let's go back up, there's a request event, and that incoming message, so the class incoming message has some stuff on it, it's got some events, message complete, destroy, headers. Okay, so header, is that what I want? I want raw headers, or maybe I do want header. Let's see, URL. I think I want the URL. Only valid for the request obtained from HTTP server. Okay, I think it's what I want. So I say, const URL equals rec.url, right? Message.url is a string. Okay, so I'd say then, so if URL equal to foo, let's do this. Let's say let body equals, wow, right? And then I can say body plus equals the URL was plus foo. Oh, duh, foo, right? Or I can say else. Oops. The URL was not foo. New line. The URL was, and then I could say plus URL, and then we'll add a new line, and okay, and great. Oh, I need to close that. Okay, and then let's see. So we could say, go back into here. Server is running. Let's do this again. We can say foo. The URL was foo. Cool. If I can say foo, we can say the URL was not foo. Now, of course, I had the issue with the new line there. Let's add that in. Let's try this again. The URL was foo. Cool. So I think the thing that I'm illustrating here is like you could say like func, like, or like do foo thing, right? And then you could pass in rec res. You could say do not foo thing, right? Rec res. So you could put like a cryptic router together, right? And then rather than write the response there, you could write the response inside of here. Like you can do it all sorts of ways. Like express and happy are ultimately kind of doing something. I mean, they're doing it with regular expressions and kind of matching and stuff or whatever, but this is how it kind of works. So that's the intro to Node.js. Cool, thanks.